How many MLS fans would be willing to kick in a couple of bucks to keep Ashley Cole out of MLS? Because those are the rumors these days. That Ashley Cole, and this is from numerous sources. I'm not even including this in the news. I'm just off the top of my dome this morning going to talk about Ashley Cole. Yeah, the rumors are all over the place. It is what it is. Maybe Ashley Cole's coming to L.A. I don't know. I think that would be a ridiculous move by the LA Galaxy, but that's neither here nor there on a Wednesday, as I said. A couple of days from the holiday, as we get ready for the new year, some things actually happening in the world of American soccer. Yesterday, sort of out of the blue, we got news that Omar Gonzalez has been transferred to Pachuca in Liga MX. Omar Gonzalez, after 7 years with the LA Galaxy, has moved on. Probably a good move for him in terms of a new challenge. Probably a good move for him in terms of just shaking up things, getting his career along a different path, maybe stagnating a bit in LA. Now, the most interesting thing about Omar Gonzalez joining Pachuca yesterday was not that he joined Pachuca, but that he did so in a Darth Vader costume. That they unveiled him as part of some weird Star Wars themed press conference. It's Omar Gonzalez he's wearing, why is then okay, and then he takes off so Omar Gonzalez wearing a Darth Vader costume. Good for him. I suppose that means he's a badass. I mean, he's tall enough to be Darth Vader, there's no doubt about that. In addition to Omar Gonzalez moving to Mexico, we also have some news, a report from Ives Gullersep over at Goal.com that Luis Gil could be following Omar Gonzalez to Mexico. Luis Gil may be signing with Querétaro in Mexico, 22 years old. Obviously, it's not been the greatest couple of years for him at RSL. Lots of promise. U.S. Youth International, couple of caps with the full U.S. men's national team. We will see if he can jumpstart his career down in Mexico with Querétaro. Michael Bradley has been named the U.S. Soccer Male Player of the Year. He beat out Fabian Johnson, Clint Dempsey, DeAndre Yedlin, and Brad Guzan for the award. Johnson and Dempsey coming in second and third, respectively. First time that Bradley has won this award. He's been the Young Player of the Year before, but he has never been the U.S. Soccer Male Player of the Year, and there he is. In a down year for American soccer, for the U.S. soccer team, the U.S. national soccer team, clearly. But Michael Bradley, your Male Soccer Player of the Year. The Male Player of the Year in U.S. soccer. I got to get these words in proper order. The Associated Press has reported that FIFA and the International Football Association Board are planning to trial video replay in 2016. Yep, that's right. So we will perhaps see what MLS has been pushing for, and that's a trial of video replay. The International Football Association Board is that group that makes up the laws of the game or addresses the laws of the game. It includes the membership. I'm just trying to remember, Trevor. England, Wales, Northern Ireland. So England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and FIFA are the membership. FIFA has one vote. Those other countries have a vote each. And this is obviously a holdover from the history of the game, where the game started in the British Isles, giving those countries a say. We'll see what this means exactly. Also up for discussion with the International Football Association Board, although I don't expect anything to come out of it in the immediate future, are sin bins. Allowing temporary substitutions for injury that require, quote, momentary treatment, which I'm guessing is mostly about concussions, and a possible fourth substitute in extra time. So those discussions will happen in January, and then if there are changes made to the laws of the game, that would come in March. We'll see if anything will happen from those discussions. In an exclusive interview with the Wall Street Journal, Sepp Blatter has said he is, quote, he has finished his work in football, unquote. I'll believe that when I see it. He's certainly going to appeal his suspension. The 79-year-old suspended FIFA president also said that corporations are lining up to be involved with FIFA, and if American corporations pull out, then others will take their place. A very matter-of-fact statement from Sepp Blatter that doesn't matter if American money pulls out of the organization, they will replace it. We've already seen, is Gazprom now one of the FIFA sponsors? They're going to find money. It's just the way things work. He also declared that under Swiss law, an 8-year ban, which is what he received for his role in that disloyal payment to Michel Platini, can only be for murder or bank robbery. I'm not sure Sepp knows what he's talking about when it comes to the legal situation in Switzerland, but this interview is fascinating. He sort of goes back and forth between I'm done and getting angry. Says he did not lose faith in FIFA until the United States government got involved. I'm trying to find the quote here. He talks specifically about the United States getting involved with the Department of Justice investigation, and that's when he lost faith in FIFA. But it's quite the interview. I spent 40 years at FIFA, said Blatter. It doesn't bother me to talk about the past because the past was more brilliant for me than the future. I don't know what that means, but okay, Sepp. The Times of London says a consortium led by 2 U.S. tech investors is in negotiations to buy Everton for an estimated $297 million. That's 200 million pounds. The group includes John J. Moores, who owned the San Diego Padres from 1994 to 2012. Anybody who knows the situation at Everton knows that they've been cash strapped for some time. Bill Kinwright has been looking for investment, looking for new owners. This could be that, although, when you talk about investment and individuals, especially Americans, there's always some trepidation. If you don't remember, if you're not a longtime listener of Soccer Morning, we once had an interview with what was his name? David Kahn, a writer a British writer who sort of outlined why perhaps American investment in English football was not a good thing. He writes for the Guardian. Excellent writer, David Kahn. I had a difference of opinion there. We'll pull some of things out. If you want to hear about at least one perspective on American investment in English football, go back and listen to that interview. It is in the archives somewhere. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will open up the phone lines and talk to you. This is your show. You want to have a good time on Soccer Morning? Give me a call. Let's talk some soccer on a Wednesday. Okay, stay there. Be right back. constantly this morning. So, if you listen back to the podcast of this program, you're going to get to hear the calling sound when Trevor connects to the show, because for whatever reason he's had to do that twice today. It's a connection issue. I'm not sure what's happening here. What is happening here? Yeah, my connection isn't holding. Who knows why that is? Okay. Hopefully it does. And again, the podcast is always clean and pretty, and you can listen to that. We are back. 646-832-3909 is the phone number if you want to jump in here. A couple of things that we could talk about, including this transfer of Omar Gonzalez down to Pachuca in Mexico, whether or not it's the right thing for him. Certainly the right thing for the LA Galaxy. Seems as though the LA Galaxy not able to hold on to Omar Gonzalez based on roster rules and the money available to them under the MLS salary cap. I mean, this isn't necessarily a situation where they wanted to sell him, or the offer was so big that they couldn't say no. I imagine that this was very much about the way that their roster was coming together for 2016, the amount of money that they had available, how much TAM they had. How much TAM do they have? I don't know how much TAM they have. 646-832-3909. Let's talk some TAM. We can also talk, and I realize that nobody out there is awake today. Awake right now. Anyway, it's 6 o'clock in the morning on the West Coast. Okay, 6:14 on the West Coast. And I realize that probably no one in the Bay Area is listening to Soccer Morning live right now, but maybe they'll listen back to this. Maybe they can chip in at Soccer Morning on Twitter and give us their thoughts on this story. And if you haven't heard about this, I've been meaning to cover the situation in Santa Clara with the youth soccer fields for some time. It's just been hard to find the right angle. It's been hard to... I did not want to turn this into an open bashing of the NFL, I didn't want to create a binary situation where it's football versus soccer. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be careful about how we covered this story because I did not want it to simply become soccer over football. But there's been a new twist, okay? So the situation in Santa Clara is that there are some youth soccer fields adjacent to Levi Stadium. The new venue for the San Francisco 49ers opened up. When did it open this year, Trevor, or was that last year? It may have opened last year, but it's only been around for a couple of years. Okay? Remember, the 49ers used to play in Candlestick in San Francisco. Now they play in this shiny new stadium, state-of-the-art building, so much Wi-Fi everywhere in Santa Clara, California. As part of the construction of this stadium, it required soccer fields to be, I suppose the way I'll say this is that soccer fields were turned into parking for the stadium. I believe VIP parking, not even regular parking. And it was incumbent and part of the agreement that Jed York, owner of the San Francisco 49ers, and the team itself would replace the fields that they took over when they built the stadium. Now, my understanding, and again, this is why I want to make sure we cover things correctly here. I don't want to get the details wrong, but I'm going to try. My understanding is that they did not do that. They reneged on their agreement, on their part of the deal, to replace these fields for the youth soccer community in Santa Clara. Now, it's gone beyond that. The most recent development in Santa Clara is that the NFL, because Super Bowl 50 will be at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara early next year, the NFL has taken over more fields, has taken over several soccer fields and begun to turn them into a staging area for the Super Bowl. In less than 2 weeks, when the NFL moves in to transform Levi Stadium and its surroundings for Super Bowl 50, this is, by the way, from a story at the San Jose Mercury News by Ramona Gilwargis. Let me just read this again to get the details right here. Leaning on Ramona's reporting, and my computer's not responding here. Let me see if I can find this somewhere else, because this is just not going to work if I can't give you guys the details on this situation. Let me see if I can pull this up somewhere else, because my computer has locked up on me, and that's That's not cool. NFL, Super Bowl, soccer. Let's see. Here we go. All right. So this Super Bowl 50 again coming to Santa Clara, California, coming to Levi Stadium. It's part of the construction of a new stadium. Generally speaking, these cities get the Super Bowl. So it's like the prize. Hey, give us some public money or give us some help getting the land. Give us tax breaks, and we'll give you a Super Bowl. So that's what happened here. In less than 2 weeks, when the NFL moves in to transform Levi Stadium and its surroundings for Super Bowl 50, Robertson, meaning Andrew Robertson, who grew up playing on those fields, and hundreds of youth soccer players must move out. The Santa Clara Youth Soccer Park will be turned into an enormous, quote, media village, unquote, as workers begin yanking out fences. Okay, thank you, browser, for jumping and changing, and I may have a... this does not want to cooperate. Quite the show today. 646-832-3909 if you want to jump in and save me here. It's just not scrolling, and that's very difficult to read a story when your browser won't scroll. And I've been having lots of Chrome crashing problems recently. So thank you, Chrome, for crashing all the time and making it very difficult to do a radio show where I read stories from around the world of soccer. Workers began yanking out fences, tearing out dugouts, and plopping down wooden platforms for about 6,000 members of the media to work in the shadow of the stadium. The displacement has the Santa Clara Youth Soccer League scrambling to find enough fields for the 250 games on its schedule over the next 2 months, and has set off yet another bout of infighting on the city council over just what the city promised when it agreed to turn over its coveted soccer park and other nearby property to the NFL to host the big game. The 49ers and the NFL care more about the property than the kids, said Robertson, 16, who's been playing since he was 6. I think it's pretty unfair because the park has been there even before the plans for the stadium. I just think we deserve to be there. The NFL will occupy the soccer park from January 4th to March 2nd, with the 3 weeks after the Super Bowl to be spent on cleaning up and repairing the field. So this is not, again, this goes back to, if it was just about this, it would be bad enough. But it also goes beyond that. There's an additional victimization of soccer when it comes to the 49ers. These fields are there. I'm trying to catch up here on what exactly happened with some of these other fields. Santa Clara's Youth Soccer Park, which the 49ers unsuccessfully tried to use for stadium parking, was originally stated to be a staging area for the halftime show, et cetera, et cetera. There were changes made at the last minute. Again, this is just a disaster. And I don't want to make this NFL versus soccer. I don't want to make this football versus soccer. I don't like that binary. I like both sports. Okay, I recognize there are a lot of problems with the NFL. The NFL is a behemoth, a money-making juggernaut. They have the issues with the way that they've treated their players over the course of their history, and certainly the concussion issues make it difficult for me to watch the sport without feeling a little guilty. But this is obviously a problem, and it needs to be addressed. Hey, look who's calling in. Bo Durr is calling in. Hey, Bo, how are you?
Good morning, Jason. How are you?
I'm doing well. Have you ever called this show of your own volition before?
I don't think so. No, it's just I've been listening this week. I don't know what people do during this week that makes them so busy. I mean, I know kids are home from school, but we all need a break from that. And so I would think that more people would be interested in calling in. That's how I feel right now. I feel compelled to call in right now.
Well, I appreciate it, Bo. What's on your mind today?
Well, I've been having a lot of conversations with people about Abby Wambach and the comments about the men's national team.
Okay.
And it seems like I sometimes wonder if it had been anyone other than Abby Wambach making these statements, would it have been as controversial as it was? Because Abby, a legendary player, deserved all the credit she received at her farewell, although some of it sounded like a different person, and not Abby Wambach, the indomitable warrior, but Abby Wambach, somebody else. But I wonder if people just have turned on her a little bit in the sense that, this is the person who defended Magic Jack and Dan Borisow.
Yeah.
And there was a great piece by Meg Linehan, who you probably talked with her about it, actually, in Vice this summer, about how I think it was called Abby Wambach's Fall from Grace. Mm-hmm. And it was that she was in this single-minded quest to win the World Cup. And then the team was still playing the style I call the Wackets of Wambach, mm-hmm. which they finally ditched, and Wambach won. And so I think that for all the plaudits that Abby got at her farewell, there is still this backlash that, look, you've done a lot of controversial things. And so I wonder if it had been, if Christy Rampone had said the same things, would anybody have reacted the same way they did?
No, I think you're right. I think that's a part of it is that it's Abby Wambach, but maybe nobody else says it quite the same way as Abby Wambach either, because they don't have the lack of filter that Abby is notorious for, and that's part of the reason why Abby is valuable. She may not say things I agree with all the time, but she's certainly willing to say things which can often be a problem, especially in the women's world, the women's soccer world.
Right, and she actually says them, which is, you compare it to, say, Eric Wynalda, who is also unfiltered, but also you never quite know what he's talking about. If you follow him on Twitter, and he's sort of, we're going to talk about the big revolution now, and everything needs to change, and then you go, okay, what? And then you don't really get it. It's like, okay, change the schedule, but it's not going to work. Yeah, so. Maybe Abby should have a talk show next on Sirius.
Maybe, absolutely. I would, as long as she's not bumping me, Bo, I would totally welcome that.
I think that would be a lot of fun because, and I think people, in talking about the roles that she would have, and one person suggested a U.S. soccer president, and there's no way she could navigate that job.
No.
That is a tricky political job to have. Regardless of what you think of Sunil Gulati and how he's done it.
Well,
it's difficult.
Bo, you would probably know this better than I would. I get the sense, I'm not saying that Abby Wambach isn't capable of being an administrator in some form if she chooses to be, but I get the sense that at least for the time being, she would rather be out front and talking than sort of behind the scenes working out the things that a U.S. soccer president would have to do.
Yeah, I think that's true. Now, of course, there is one curious thing, and that's why, it's one of the things that makes Abby Wambach such an interesting person is that she's full of contradictions, which is that she seemed to be taking on this role, and then you got that curious forget me ad, and then she deleted her social media account. And I have to think that she'll come back at some point. But I wonder, maybe she's always talked about things, having a family. Hiking the Appalachian Trail was something she always said she wanted to do. So I wonder if she's just going to do, it's the Donovan goes to Cambodia moment for her.
Sure.
Where she's just going to take some time off and then reemerge. And who knows? Sometimes those experiences change people a little bit. And so it will be fascinating to see what happens when she comes back. Because,
It's funny that you mentioned Donovan because Donovan sort of doubled down on some of the things that Abby said. Abby says some things on this Bill Simmons podcast. Landon goes on Wynalda's show, speaking of Wynalda, then goes on Twitter and kind of expands on those things. And what's interesting is that we may have expected something like that from Abby Wambach. I mean, that's been her MO throughout her career. She certainly, as you said, had the thing with Magic Jack and defending Dan Borislov. But Donovan wasn't really that guy during his career. Occasionally he would speak up, but it was mostly, he had a thing with Beckham or, he and Klinsmann butted heads while he was playing. To see Donovan, and I'm not saying he was super controversial, but to see Donovan in this mode, in this job that he's got now, whatever it is interesting.
What is his job now?
I don't know. I don't know what his job. I mean, okay, job is the wrong word, but in this role that he's got, I guess where he is, I don't even know how you would describe his approach to this because he's not doing it in a media setting. He's just sort of floating around the periphery, jumping in when asked, or even not when asked on Twitter, and kind of lobbing bombs. I mean, he flat out said that. Because of the German influence in the team, there was a disconnect in the locker room with the U.S. men's national team. That's pretty controversial stuff for him.
It really is, and one of the points I made in one of the conversations I've had with you is very much. I talk with people who are just furious with Wambach. Who had, I don't mean to still, Facebook conversations into real life, but people like Derek Ritchie, who you may know, were just furious with what Wambach said, and to me, I felt like it was part of a larger context because reading the transcript, the sentence before she talks about foreign players, she talks about how youth development we've not seen this youth development revolution under Klinsmann that we were promised. And so that to me is the point she was trying to make. Look, we're not developing players.
Yeah.
We're going to Europe and finding them.
Right.
And that's a serious problem. Now, you could say, okay, well, she worded it inelegantly. Well, then Donovan comes through and makes it more pointed. A lot of people have said, well, Abby should come out and clarify what she meant by that. Well, Donovan was clear as day, saying there are people who, and it's pretty serious. It's pretty serious what Donovan said, and in a way, it's surprising that there hasn't been more backlash against Donovan for saying those things.
Yeah, well, again, I lament the fact that this whole controversy somehow made a statement about soccer by Colin Cowherd noteworthy in the soccer world. Bo, what's happening there?
Right. Yeah. Colin Cowherd, he turns it into things about I don't know, the contributions that immigrants have made in the U.S. and so forth, and that's so far removed from the context of what Abby Wambach was talking about, it's a really bad twisting.
What frustrates me, Bo, and I don't know if you agree with me at all on this front, but I continue to have a problem with people who are giving Klinsmann the excuse that they're handing him a pass because the talent pool's not good enough. Well, look, I mean, again, it's not as though the United States has ever had a world-class talent pool, and suddenly we're having problems getting results on home soil against Caribbean nations. No offense to Jamaica, that's never been an issue before. Why is it okay that it's an issue now?
Exactly. I mean, the talent pool shouldn't be any worse right now than it was under some of the previous coaches. Now, one thing you could say is that in 2002 we had sort of a perfect storm of where Reyna was healthy, O'Brien was healthy, Tony Santa was at his peak.
It's true.
And so that was sort of catching everyone at their peak at once and also getting a little bit lucky, having South Korea beat Portugal and, a handball that wasn't called and so forth. So Arena had a perfect storm that pushed us through in 2002 that we haven't seen since. But you're right. I can't remember Arena's teams or Bradley's teams having so many lackluster results like this. I mean, in CONCACAF. On the flip side, people say, "Oh, well, they have all these great results in Europe." Well, those results don't help. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, that's not going to push the program any higher.
No, absolutely not. Hey, Bo. I'm happy to keep you on. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Thank you very much for calling. If you want to, why don't you, since you're on the air, since you're here, why don't you give a plug for your book that I saw you push it on Twitter the other day?
Oh yeah. I wrote a youth soccer book called Single Digit Soccer. Keeping sanity in the earliest ages of the beautiful game, and it's combining the perspectives of what I had as a writer, where I was there seeing Claudio Reyna unveil the curriculum a few years back, and then the perspective of a parent who has been coaching two young sons through soccer and seeing my own kids and also kids that I've coached going through the system and going through the soccer industrial complex, you might say, where everything we talk about pay to play. There's actually a lot of there's a lot of payment going on in youth soccer. It's just one of those things where I think a lot of people see dollar signs, and a lot of people are terrified of being left behind, essentially, in this case that, I need to do this for my 7-year-old or else he won't be a good soccer player when he's 15. And so I think what I've done, it builds on some work that John O'Sullivan would be somebody you might want to talk to at some point. Wrote a book called Changing the Game, and he's a successful soccer coach too. And it's just that some of the things that we do to get serious about soccer not only do they marginalize recreation players, which is bad because these are going to be our future fans, these are people who love the game, it also is counterproductive.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be specializing in a sport at age 8. And that's what people often think we have to do. So it takes that sort of research and also just funny anecdotes of when I tried to use the Pulp Fiction reference to motivate the team and realized, no, that's a very bad idea. Not only did they not know Pulp Fiction, they don't even know Happy Days. I was telling them to try to be cool like Fonzie. And is he the Muppet? Yeah, no, that's Fonzie. Oh wait, there's a Muppet on Happy Days, and so it's a fun book. And I'd write if you know any parents of young kids, I highly recommend it for them because part of it is trying to. I would love administrators to read it too and try to think and maybe revise some of their thinking about things. But also, I think it's a good one for parents to educate themselves a little bit, have more of a voice. And a lot of books like this tend to be kind of preachy. I tried not to do this with this book. I tried to make it fun.
There you go.
So I hope it is.
Oh, there. Go find that on Amazon.com. A Single-Digit Soccer, Bo's new book or a recent book on the stories, travails, lessons of youth soccer. Bo, appreciate the call. Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks, Eric.
Happy holidays, Bo. There goes Bo Durr. Good stuff from him. Bo's been, if you don't know Bo, I don't know where you've been. Bo's been doing this. He wrote the definitive book on the history of MLS, Long Range Goals, which is about the birth, the start, the beginnings of Major League Soccer. And I think, that the lessons from that book, sort of the memories, the remembrances. I mean, we're recently in MLS's 20th year. SI had that oral history that they published this summer. I thought was fantastic. They went back to the beginnings of MLS and talked about how difficult it was just to get off the ground and some of the odd rule changes that they considered and instituted in some cases, and obviously the branding travails that they had, Nike getting involved and Adidas getting involved, and all of these odd things that they threw on the table to try to make soccer work in the United States. And it was, no one knew. Now they got big numbers out in attendances that first season, off of the enthusiasm built from 1994 in the World Cup, but no one knew if it was gonna keep going the way that it did. The way that it was, and for a while it didn't look like the league was going to make it. We had 2002 and the shuttering of the Miami Fusion and the Tampa Bay Tampa Bay Mutiny. Excuse me. Wow. Which really were the dark days of MLS, and here we are. And again, doesn't mean you have to buy into everything MLS is, but you have to at least recognize that from that place in 2002. Which was the height of American soccer on the international stage, to be where MLS is pretty remarkable. And the reason I bring this up is because yesterday we talked about that Forbes piece that's been bouncing around, certainly been shared by MLS and their Twitter accounts many, many times, that the league is closing the gap on the Big Four. Now, I wrote something today in which I said, hold on, put the brakes on, let's chill out a bit. Closing the gap is relative. Because for me, you could talk about the TV numbers, which we know the ratings aren't good, but there's a cumulative audience that they've set records with in 2015. Good for MLS. You can talk about the digital side of things and the page views and the impressions. You can talk about the demographic shifting in soccer's direction. More people like soccer in the younger generation, and they're only going to become more important, and marketers want 18 to 34-year-olds, and 65% of MLS fans are 18 to 34, and all of these things, and they're all great. They're all talking points in the sales pitch for Major League Soccer. But is Major League Soccer in the general national sports conversation? How often is Major League Soccer, or soccer in general, if you want to take it to that front, part of the rundown on PTI, part of the rundown on Around the Horn, part of the discussion on your sports talk radio station in LA, Seattle, Chicago, New York, Boston, Washington, D.C.? It's not. It's just not. And that doesn't mean it never will be. And it doesn't mean that soccer is failing. But if we're talking about closing the gap on the Big Four, then this sport has to be part of that conversation. It has to be at least as important as the Masters and the U.S. Open golf tournament and the U.S. Open tennis tournament, and because those things still get some regular chatter. You're going to get, it's just generational. We've identified this several times. It's a generational thing. The generation that cares about soccer and will include it in their regular sports conversation has yet to take the reins of said sports conversation. And when that happens, we may see a shift, and then we could talk about closing the gap. Okay, I don't care about it. I mean, I care about attendance. I'm glad MLS is healthy on that front. I'm glad soccer is healthy on that front. I care about TV ratings because it means that the league is getting more revenue. But if we're talking about closing a gap with the Big Four, let's be honest with ourselves and remember that soccer has a long way to go. And even any benefit soccer is getting from a generational shift in attitudes toward the game, that doesn't necessarily mean MLS is just going to stand there and collect the rewards. They have to do work to get new soccer fans who might be tuned in to the European game over MLS to pay attention to the American version. That's the truth of that situation. My man Brian Blickenstaff, writer for Vice Sports on Twitter, talking about something that Bo was talking about, which is specialization at a young age. The problem is in other countries, kids specialize at age 8. Should they? Is a different question than how do we compete? I have problems with this. I mean, this is something I could go on for hours about, Brian, and I'm not going to today, obviously. But we've had this discussion. We've opened this thing up, and I'm willing to take any and all opinions on this because I think we do have a fundamental issue in how to balance out when we turn kids into specialized soccer players so that they can compete with the rest of the world, and whether doing that is the correct thing to do for those kids or our kids. I mean, let's not forget they're our kids. This is what I call the professionalization of young players. You effectively have to make 8-year-olds, maybe not 8, but at least 12-year-olds, 11, 12-year-olds. You effectively have to make them professional players if they're going to compete with the kids in their age group around the world. If the United States is going to create a national team that can compete for World Cups, in order to do that, then the United States is going to have to produce its own talent that can compete with Spain and Germany and Italy and France, Brazil, Argentina. How do we do that? Okay, well, look, what are they doing in those countries? Oh, they're identifying young players at the age of 7 and 8 and 9 years old, and they're sticking them in academies, and they're running them through what is essentially the professionalization process. Those kids are still going to school. They still have something of a social life. They're still kids, but they're also being asked to focus almost to exclusion of everything else on soccer so that the club can create a player that they can then either put into their team, sell on. This is because it's a business and because it's a machine, it dehumanizes these players. And to Brian's point, again, do we want, as an American soccer community, which has not yet had to reckon with that because we got a late start on this deal, do we want to keep pushing younger and younger and specialize younger and younger and professionalize younger and younger to compete with the rest of the world? Or do we sort of say, well, you know what, maybe we'll get lucky every couple of cycles. We really don't want to do this to our kids. I'm curious where people fall on this. And I think it's important for people, again, to think of these kids, not as little soccer players in waiting, not as just faceless commodities to be turned into soccer players, but as individual human beings. Because, if I had to make the decision, my kid is 7 years old. If he was good enough and I had to make a decision to have him specialize in soccer or go into an academy situation at the age of 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, if that's what it would take to turn him into a professional player, I would have to think long and hard about that. If that's what he wanted, man, that would be a tough decision. It'd be difficult. I would agonize because I don't know that would be the best thing for his development as a human being. Forget soccer player. 646-832-3909 is your phone number. We're here for as long as you want us here. So keep coming them, keep them coming, keep calling in, whatever's on your mind. I'm painting an extreme example of the academy system. That's Trevor. Of course I am, because that exists. Whether or not it's everybody's experience, it's kind of beyond the point. It can be the experience. Not every kid is going to have an experience that means that they don't have a life outside of soccer. But the point is that if the United States is going to compete on the same level as the best soccer countries in the world, there is absolutely a reckoning that needs to be had over those issues. Let's go to Eddie up in Brooklyn. What's up, Eddie?
Hey, what's up? Does Trevor ever smile?
Who? Trevor?
Does Trevor ever smile?
Yeah, Trevor. Well, no, he kind of makes I think I've seen it once or twice.
I was just wondering. I don't know if it's like a myth or anything.
No. He's Trevor is a well-humored individual. He's very dry though. Yeah. Go ahead, Eddie.
No, so we're talking this youth soccer thing, right? Whether it's you going on a tangent, right? Whether or not you would let your son want to go into academy like a 9-10.
Yeah.
Do it, whatever. He's good enough.
Well, no, okay. I mean, again, it's not that I don't want him to be a good soccer player. It's just I would, as a father, I would have to think about whether or not that's, I mean, and the thing, like, it's making a value judgment over the usual normal experience and that experience. And I didn't live through that one, Eddie. So is it even right for me to sit here and say, well, that's the wrong thing to do for a young child's development? I don't know. I mean, that could be the best thing for him at the same time. I just, we as a soccer nation have yet to have to really deal with some of those things that come with, creating an academy system that really is all about a numbers game. I mean, these kids need advocates, and whether or not, their parents can only advocate so much if they're part of another 1,000 kids who are in a system being that's trying to turn them into the best professional players they can be.
I mean, here's kind of where I fall on this. Obviously, I have a 7-year-old son myself, and as awesome as he is, you always have to remember you're a father first, especially when it's kind of hard when you got to balance coaching and then parenting. So it's a struggle that I deal with. But for me, I say until about 10, 11, no player at any level should be involved in any kind of academy thing, because once you get to that point, you're kind of robbing away the love for the game, and you're kind of playing the game for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
And I think that's the first thing that parents, coaches, and all these youth soccer clubs, and number one, at least the way I see it, is that their number one philosophy should be make this for the enjoyment of the kids, because once you get that aspect of it, they're going to take the time on themselves to try and hone their skills and become more technically gifted. They'll be at home juggling the ball on their own accord. They're not going to need a parent yelling at them. So you kind of have to find the joy for the kids, and I kind of feel like an academy is going to rob that of that. It's going to make it too professional, but you can still find a way to kind of specialize these kids at a young age and find that balance at the same time. It's really just up to the coaches and the coaches' philosophy and the club's philosophy as a whole.
Right. Well,
and once you're in that kind of environment, it's you can grow from there.
What Bo was talking about, the problem is, and you know this, Eddie. I mean, there's a race to get kids. I mean, if parents have the money and the wherewithal, and this is why soccer has had access issues in this country, and it's certainly true of baseball, which I've seen close up in terms of the machine that is the specialization, the individual coaching, I every now and then I see Jeff Bradley, Bob's brother, who has written about soccer, but also is a baseball guy. It has covered teams in the Major League Baseball, written on the sport. And he talks about, this is the thing I hate. He talks about how parents will take their kids to the cage or to a pitching coach and pay that guy $100 an hour to teach their kids something that they should be learning on their own, either playing pickup baseball with their friends or just in whatever team environment they're in. The problem is that parents can't sit by if they think somebody else has an advantage on their kid. So this is part of our culture already, and then you tack on, okay, now there's a professional element that is trying to, again, these kids become commodities. I mean, we want to see them become good soccer players for their own benefit, But really, when the club looks at them, what are they seeing? Are they seeing an individual kid that they really want to help grow, or are they seeing a kid who they can eventually win a championship with or sell on for a couple $1,000,000? I mean, that's just a business. I'm not even hating on the club for that, Eddie. It's just the way things work. Trevor wants to point out that he doesn't want to paint our situation is morally superior. And I'm not doing that. And we do have issues in other sports. I mean, soccer is only now dealing with this. But as I said, baseball already has this problem. Basketball already has this problem. But high school football is absolutely a machine that's trying to turn out kids, especially at the highest levels. College football is the exact same way. So it's not as though soccer is it's not as though soccer is the only thing we've got going where we have to deal with this, or it's not as though as Americans we have a right to preach to other countries. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying that as a soccer country, we have to figure out how far we're willing to go with this whole thing.
I mean, when you paint that analogy about the parent that plays at the batting cages, that's basically what pay-for-play soccer is. When you really think about it, it's just parents paying money so their kids can hone their craft. But me personally, like, the way my philosophy works is at every practice, I start practice with a 10-minute pickup game. So the first 10, 12 minutes, the kids, as they start showing up for practice, I just have pennies on the field. The field is set up. I have goals open. I have multiple fields open because I have my team alone is like 27 kids right now. So I just let them play. They're in school all day. They're dealing with their parents. They're dealing with homework. They're dealing with all this stuff. All the kids want to do is play. And a lot of times they'll show up to practice, and it's like they have to warm up, and they have to do this, they have to do the other. The way I do it, I just let them go. The first 10, 15 minutes of practice are yours, boys. Go play, go have fun. And at least for me personally, it works out for me because kids start showing up on time because they want to play the game. They want to get as much playing time as possible. And they loosen up a little bit more, and they have fun, and you're willing to get more out of them for the last hour and 15 minutes than you would if you were to get there and you start having them do these, little exercises or technical footwork. So you just, again, as a club and as a coach, you have to find your own personal philosophy and balance that out.
I'm glad that you've managed to figure that out, Eddie, and just for your group of kids, that's obviously fantastic. I hope there are a lot of coaches out there who are doing something similar. Again, I mean, I think for me, my brain just immediately goes to the fact that in this country, and it's true in a lot of parts of the world because of soccer, but we do it in a bunch of different sports here. The elite levels of youth sports dehumanize the kids, turn them into machines, make it entirely too pressurized, and they might lose. I mean, we talk all the time about whether or not specialization in any sport is a good thing, and here's soccer demanding that we specialize because, again, it's an arms race with everybody else around the world.
It is, but I kind of don't want to demonize that because I personally feel like I'm personally trying to specialize in my son because he wants it. Okay. So as much as my son wants to do it, I'm going to push him to it. So I analyze my son's game. I give him his own personal statistics. I tell him how many take-ons he has compared to how many he's completed, and then we compare it to like Major League Soccer players because that's what he wants. And I'm willing to go that far for him up until the point where he no longer wants it. It's just. Like I said, it's all a philosophy thing, and sometimes you're going to find the wrong parents that really put entirely too much pressure on the kids, and those are the parents I have to deal with half the time. And like I said, I'll always rather manage a team full of orphans in my life because I hate dealing with parents and the pressure they put on them. And I often find times that my players play better when some of the parents aren't there because they don't have that looking over. They don't have to look over their shoulder thinking, "Oh, damn, I messed up because of my dad." Yeah. But that's just something I've been able to strike with my son. It's just you just have to find that balance and try not to demonize the process.
Right. And look, I mean, I don't want to paint this as well. Okay, let me say it this way: we sort of get inside our own heads, and I mean, as parents, as coaches, as the people responsible for trying to teach our kids how to play any sport, but in this case, soccer, we sort of get into our own heads where it becomes an arms race that we create ourselves. That's more about perception of what somebody else is doing, rather than what they're actually doing. I mean, Bo just said more free play would be great for everyone. Some European academies require kids to go play on their own. Like basically say, go play. Don't need a coach around. And that stuff kind of gets lost in the general conversation. That is, let's get better. Let's more coaching, more drills, more this, more because everybody is racing because they think everybody else is doing the exact same thing or doing the same thing at an even higher level, even more specialized, even more time, less time, doing anything but soccer. And again, for me as a parent, and again for you as a parent, it's not just does the kid want to play? It's not just should we specialize? It's what's good for him as a human, as a person growing up. I mean, can he adjust to the world if he's, if we're doing this thing to the exclusion of anything else? I mean, not for you, but that's certainly how some parents treat sports.
And I agree with Bo about the whole free play thing. Like the way our system is set up, so we have 3 practices a week. One alone is just dedicated. It's just called free play. The kids show up, they pick their own teams. The entire field is broken down into 6-7 fields, and they just play for about an hour and a half. And, it's just you build chemistry with other players. You just get more touches on the ball. You're in more 1v1 situations. At the youth soccer level, I don't see any problem with that, and that's why I always tell my practices that way. And then even when we had Manchester United coaches come over and visit our club and kind of help us with some training and teach us some things, that was one of the things that they were also telling me. But I already implemented that in my plan. Mm-hmm. But like Manchester United is doing that. They're starting games with just straight free play. So, if there's any youth soccer coaches out there listening or any youth soccer clubs, I'm a huge advocate of it. It works. Let the kids play, man. That's what they really want to do. Yeah. Just let them play.
All right, cool. Appreciate the call, Eddie. Good stuff, man. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, man.
There goes Eddie in Brooklyn. Good stuff. I mean, look, it's a serious discussion, but I don't want to be doom and gloom. If that's the feeling you're getting from me, then yeah, definitely pull me back. I mean, I'm this is a discussion. I'm not sitting here dictating anything. Again, we have a generally insane culture when it comes to youth sports in the United States. So it's just a matter of trying to determine where soccer fits into that versus anything else that we do. And all of these things have happened in bubbles, and soccer doesn't exist in a bubble, and that changes the way we view it as well. Let's go to Robert out in L.A. who wants to talk about Omar. What's up? What's up, Robert?
Hey, good morning, Jason. Wasn't planning on calling in today until this whole Omar Gonzalez came out of nowhere yesterday. I want to say that I think it was only a matter of time. It was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
that was a weird press conference.
It was. I mean, somebody's pointing out to me that it's because he's coming from the Galaxy that's why they did it. I think they probably just did it because of timing and because Omar's a big nerd, probably. I mean, and good for Omar.
Yeah, good for him. Oh, hopefully, now it'll probably clear up some cap space. And I don't know if you talked about this, but around yesterday there was this report. Now first of all, take this for what it is, and I think with the grain of salt that Ashley Cole, from Roma, is going to come to MLS, to the Galaxy now. And I was just, when I first heard that, I thought, I was like, oh no, this is going to probably be bad. Because they're going to use all the TAM and the sham and the gram and the ham money on him.
Yeah, right. I hope it doesn't happen, Robert. I really do. I don't think Ashley Cole's anywhere near the player MLS should want at this point. I don't care what is. I don't care how big his name is. No.
Go on, sorry.
No, that's it. I just don't think Ashley Cole is a player MLS team should want.
Yeah, so I was just looking at our players we have left, and I don't know. Well, first of all, there's 2 more months till the season begins. So hopefully Bruce Arena can do some of his magic again. I was thinking, like, if he knew what was going to happen earlier, he probably should have gone for Drew Moore, or maybe he'll probably do some training and get a veteran in there, because the back line we have now is not very confident with it right now, especially with we have Champions League coming up before the MLS season starts.
Yeah, I mean, you do have, yeah, it's not like LA gets to just ease into the season. They have to jump right into the Champions League, Robert. And, again, the rumors, the Ashley Cole rumors don't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, what, is Robbie Rogers going somewhere? What's happening? I mean, why do you need a left back?
I don't know.
Yeah, so lots of questions in LA. Robert, you got anything else before I let you go?
Yeah, real fast. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I was watching basketball. I was watching and Ronaldo was there. He's on vacation in Miami. So start those rumors now. Have a good day, Jason.
All right, there goes Robert out in Los Angeles. All right, a couple of minutes left here. If you guys want to jump on board, 646-832-3909 is the phone number. We do have we have this incredible Sepp Blatter interview in which he again takes shots at the United States of America. Basically says it's all the United States' fault that he's in trouble and that that he's been banned. He doesn't seem to take any responsibility at all for anything that's happened to FIFA. It just remains ridiculous there with that organization. We got the Ashley Cole rumors. Hey, look, Frank Gallup's going to land in a soft spot, maybe USL Arizona United for Frank Gallup. Okay. We got the Carlos Vela rumors out there. Looks like he might come to MLS, but it might not be until the summer, which I think is what we heard from some of our Mexican soccer people around here, including Eric Gomez. Anything else on the table before I wrap this up? I mean, anything else worth talking about? 646-832-3909. I mean, it's right here for the taking if you guys want to jump on board. All right. If you've got your shopping done, good for you. I thought I did, and now I realize I probably need one or two more things, which is just so annoying. You get to the end, you're like, oh, I'm good, and you relax, and then like the couple of days before the event, you go, oh, wait a second, I need this, and I need one more thing for this person. There we go. All right. We'll be back tomorrow, last show of the week. We'll be back after that on Tuesday. We're actually going to take Monday off. So tomorrow's show, web show, and we'll be on satellite Sirius XM over at Channel 85 tomorrow. We'll be taking off Friday and Monday, and we'll see you guys again on Tuesday heading into the new year. All right. That's going to do it for us. Phone calls are over. You guys are done. You're all being lazy. It's that kind of week. I appreciate it, too. I mean, I know how it goes. Thank you very much to everybody who called in today, Bo and Eddie and Robert. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. See you then. Bye.
Did my invitations disappear? What I put my heart on every cursive letter? Tell me why the hell no one is here.